So Blue Archive recently celebrated its second anniversary with a IRL event that they held in Akihabara. So I heard about this event from a friend who told me about it since we were both playing the game together. And I figured, may as well go give it a check, why not? Since I'm already living here and all. So I went to look up on it online, and the thing is, it actually surprised me like how different this event was being run compared to many of the more recent anime events, particularly those related to all this kind of well, games run by bigger companies as well. So I'll explain the reason why in a bit, but for those of you who don't know what Blue Archive is, let me give you a quick explanation, though I have to ask, like, how do you find this video? So, to put it simply, Blue Archive is a game where you play as a teacher set in a world where there's nothing but female students with halos, furries, and robots. And the general plot and the reason why I feel at least that most people like the game is due to the fact that the story itself is quite dark. Like, in spite of the game's overall cutesy appearance and all the funny memes about how lewd it is, it's like the main thing that most people tend to also focus on is the fact that the story is quite depressing at times as well. It feels like for the most part, every single story arc in the game feels like it goes through like someone gets really depressed, they start to shoot everyone else, and then somehow at the end the problem just resolves itself. But thankfully, even though everyone in the game is a school shooter, the reason why the game is still family friendly is due to the fact that even though everyone is shooting each other, no one can die, and therefore it's all okay. Is that good enough for my explanation? I think it's good enough for my explanation. Okay then, moving on. So there were a couple of reasons why this event actually piqued my interest enough for me to want to go down. First of which is the fact that the event was actually only held for one day, which I know you can go through all the things, like, since it's a mobile games like event, now I can be like, oh, four more, yes, I must go down, 4 more, only one day, must go, and like stuff like that. But like, aside from that, like, the event itself was actually held only on one day, which is quite rare even for mobile game events. Like, if you look at something like FGO or like what Cygames usually does for all their events combined, it's usually a 2-day thing across the whole weekend to make it accessible for more people in general. Although I guess in part that was due to the fact that for this event they actually had a live stream throughout the entire duration. So I guess they actually had like content planned all the way through, and it'd be kind of hard to like do that for 2 days maybe. I don't know if that's a good reason, but it was a lot shorter than most events, and that was the first reason why. The second reason was due to the fact that this event was actually free entry for the most part. Like, it might sound very bizarre that I'm like, oh, free entry, that's actually something worth looking at, right? But more often than not, these events do tend to charge. Like, I believe, like, for like FGO, you can't even buy tickets on the spot. You have to like book them in advance and so on and so forth. So an event where like tickets were completely free, kind of rare. And since the event was only one day, I figured, yeah, since I'm going down there to like settle other stuff, I could just drop by and give it a look. Why not? Especially since it was so close to the point itself that I didn't have time to buy tickets anyway. The third reason was due to the fact that the game was actually planning no goods sales at all. Like, in terms of like merch, they explicitly stated on the website that they would not be selling anything for this event at all, and it would be purely like exhibition spaces and the like, which actually got me kind of curious because like since the game has only been around for 2 years, I was kind of interested in like seeing like, since the location they picked was quite large, I wanted to see like what stuff they could actually fill the large exhibition space with. So that actually piqued my interest quite a bit as well. And the last reason, the fourth reason, was the fact that the event took place in a location that was quite interesting. Like, it's a location that's very rarely used for events like this, but due to the specific timing that they held it, and the day that they held it, as well as the location, it actually felt like a very interesting, potentially marketing tactic as well to get more eyes on the game. It's like, to explain that last point a bit, the event took place at Berusaru, Akihabara, which is in the middle of like the main street of Akihabara, where like if you were a tourist going there to see the anime stuff, you would like walk past. It would probably be in the middle. And since this was taking place on Sunday, for those of you who have been there on a Sunday, you would notice that on Sundays the streets are completely blocked off so that people can walk along the main road. So there are a lot of tourists there, like walking along the main road, and there tends to be more people walking, so there are more eyes on things that are happening on the streets. So the thing is that due to the fact that the event was held in that location in the middle of the area, and by virtue of the fact that there were a lot of people gathering around and queuing around the building, it felt like it would actually draw more eyes onto the event than otherwise would have been if this event was held like at, like, for example, like Big Side or in Yokohama, like most other events were held, which felt like a very interesting marketing tactic. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but hey, it looked like it worked. I mean, it was pretty cool looking as well, so that interested me as well. So I decided to go down and give it a look and see how things are actually going there. So after having actually gone to the event, for me it's actually kind of a mixed bag. Like I kind of enjoyed it. Like the style that which the event was actually being held in was very grassroots and nostalgic for me, since it was a lot different from what you would usually see in events nowadays, especially for this like mobile game or like anime events, which tend to be more extravagant in general. This reminded me a lot more of the events I went to in like the early 2000s, especially those overseas like Anime Festival Asia, where it's like everything felt like it was on a smaller scale and more grassroots. And as someone who enjoys that kind of event, I actually kind of enjoyed this a lot more than I expected. Although I have to say that they definitely did like mess up the queuing completely. Like they definitely like completely underestimated how many people would turn up. So that part of the event, like the queue management was just like completely just broken at the time. Like no joke, the event actually had like a 2 hour queue just to be able to queue to enter the event. Like you had to queue for the queue to enter. So like you would get a ticket for a queue block and then you could just like leave and come back for your block to begin queuing, which apparently was 2 hours by the time I arrived. So it's a lot of time. That's apparently how bad the queue had gotten like towards the afternoon apparently. And apparently it only got worse from there, since like there were a lot of stage events that happened in the venue in the afternoon, so that just stretched longer and longer. Well, but thankfully for me, I had other errands to run as well, so it kind of worked out. Like I went to help my friend sell his $500 Yu-Gi-Oh card, went to get a nice decent lunch, and even had time to go explore the Asian mart that was just across the street from the location itself. But yeah, the reason why I say this event is kind of very reminiscent of the older early 2000s events and why it felt more grassroots was due to, one, the fact that the event location, while big, as compared to something like a Ponycat, for example, like this is big compared to the Yokohama location where most other events are held. In that sense, it's big, but if you're comparing it to something like a Comic-Cat, for example, or even like at Anime Japan, it just pales in comparison. Like this is way smaller than that. But for one game's event, it was decently big. Like the building had 3 floors, the first floor being not too big, the second floor being a decently big like stage area, and the basement being like a rather big exhibition area, all comparatively bigger than Yokohama, the one I mentioned before, which is about this big. But compared to Comic and the rest, it's small. But even then, it felt like just the right size to feel very like a all grassroots nostalgic event for me. I don't know. Like it reminds me a lot of like the early AFA days a lot, like I mentioned before. Where it's like the event would maybe take up like 3 convention halls, which were not too big on their own, maybe about the size of this event or slightly bigger, but they're about. Then there's the fact that the event itself, due to the fact that it was mostly just exhibits as well, it felt a lot like back then where like not everyone was trying to like hawk you and sell you like very expensive, extravagant anime goods, or like where all the displays were like very expensive avant-garde or high quality like figures that were life size or something like that. This was more like when you went in, it was a lot of very simple props and designs that were very effective at making people who enjoy the series feel good about it. Like you enter the hall and it's like you just see like tapestries lining every single wall, and these are very big tapestries. Like I cannot like stress enough how big this is. Like if you can imagine like a tapestry like maybe a tenth or maybe less of that size is already like $50-$60. Like if you want to get something that big, I honestly don't know how much it will cost. And they actually like managed to line all of the walls, or most of it at least, of the 2 floors that are easily accessible, the first and the basement, with it. The exhibits themselves were mostly standees of the characters with the names and the voice actresses' names. Like very simple, but very effective, since like what they did was that they had the character standees there. They had a background for the individual themes of all the characters, and then they had like a small prop beside each group of characters, which like people who know the game would enjoy quite a lot. Like the fact that they actually went through the trouble to and this kind of well, props in general. Like you had the bank robbers, you had the funny locker that was there, then you had also a lot of other stuff like just camping gear, which it looks very normal and very simple to prep, but these are things that are done in a way that like if you're someone who enjoys the series, it's gonna make sense. And when you look at it, you're just gonna be like, oh, yeah, it's that thing. And it just brings that vibe of like, well, enjoyment as well. Like in general, it's very simple. Like even when I show you the props, like aside from the giant clock in the middle of the room that's taking up like most of the airspace in the first floor, most of the stuff is more on the simple side. Like it's nothing too complicated that was set up, but it's set up in a way that like for a free entry event, which is just there for people to celebrate their enjoyment of the game, it was effective. I have to give them that. So one thing I should say though is that while most of the event was free, the stage area on the second floor wasn't, and unfortunately because of that I couldn't actually enter since I found out about this event so late that there was no way I could actually get tickets in time, so that was unfortunate. Although that was the area where the live streams themselves were being filmed, so for the most part you could get the experience of watching it, just not live I suppose, from just like watching live streams of the event itself, or the VODs of it rather. That said, the event itself, aside from the 3 floors of displays being put up to entertain people, you also kind of had an scavenger hunt going on as well. And I feel like between the stage event and the scavenger hunt, I think that's where most of the the choke point for all the people gathering inside, and then people outside not being able to enter. I get a feeling it's because of that, if anything. Like, so the stage, I don't think I really need to explain much. It's a stage event, it's a live stream, you can just sit there and watch it, and that takes up a lot of people just being there. But for the scavenger hunt itself, it was actually kind of interesting. I don't know, it made me feel very young again. Like, I could like shed my boomer skin for a minute and feel like I was like 16 years old again, like back in like something like AFA, where it's like you had all these weird simple activities. Like, I remember back then, like, or maybe was I 16? No, I might have been older. I don't really remember anymore. But like, I remember back then for the event itself, like AFA, you had like weird stuff. Like I think Animax, which was like the English anime channel for the region, would like turn up and get people to this like voice commercials for fun. Like you could just go to the booth and do like simple like funny stuff like this. Like you don't really get stuff like this nowadays in most bigger, especially events in Japan wise. You don't get this in those very big grand events like your side games or your FGO one. So that was kind of fun for me at least. So the scavenger hunt itself was pretty simple. Like you were given a booklet and you just had to follow the boards that were set up at different points to like solve riddles, and then like using the answers from those riddles, you would like fill up the pamphlet that you got. You would get the answer, and then you would bring that answer to the staff who would then give you the reward. So I succeeded, and the result, or rather the reward itself, was pretty simple. It's not anything too dramatic or extravagant. Like it felt very fitting for like a free event, I guess, and for an event that for the most part felt very grassroots. Like all I got was really like I think this is it. The ring light's screwing it a little, but yeah, like this is it. It's just like you just get like funny line stamp looking things. Like line, does anybody use line? I know they still use it in Japan, but Telegram, Discord, it's like it's an emote thing, a stamp that you just like post, and then it just like turns up in the chat. Like even you Zoomers should know what I'm talking about. It should be normal enough. But yeah, that's all you got. Like literally that was it. And I guess you get a nice little like, I don't want to show the answer yet, but like get a nice little like stamp over here on the thing as well, on the pamphlet picture. So the reason why I feel like this would have taken quite a lot of time is due to the fact that by virtue of the number of people there, like seeing the signs with the puzzles on them is kind of hard from afar. And if you were to follow them numerically from 1 to 7, they arranged it in a way that's going to be very confusing, because like points 1 and 2 were on the first floor, point 3 was in the basement, 4 was on the first floor, then the rest like 5, 6, and 7 were in the basement again, which means that if you didn't notice some of these points and you like went up and down, you might actually get confused to the point that you would spend a lot of time wandering around trying to find all of the puzzle points. Like, okay, including sifting through the crowd, I think I spent like 45 minutes on the whole thing, which is not good at all. I found 1 and 2, then I found 3 on the lower floor, so I assume the rest were all in the basement because of the fact that the first floor was so packed with people constantly streaming in that you wouldn't have time to like crowd there to look for it. So I just assumed all were below. So I found everything but 4 and spent I think 30 minutes looking for number 4. Which yeah. Me having small brain aside, it was enjoyable. I mean, like, it was mostly exhibits that people who knew the game would enjoy, and like a small, fun, small, simple activity. Though aside from that, there was also the crane game, which apparently that wasn't gonna be something I could do as well. Like the place was so packed, and everyone wanted to do it because like if you won, you would kind of get like a snack that you could like just pick up with the crane, and those were meant to be easy to grab. But it was so bad in the queues for even the crane game on the like basement that when I went to get the ticket at like I think 3:30 p.m. I think my timing was at like 6:45 p.m. instead. Like there was a 1 hour, 30-minute queue just to play a crane game. We should have to put 100 yen into. Not a lot of money, but still, that was a long wait. So I like was like, yeah. In the worst case, if it dragged even more, like I would probably be there till the event ends. So I was like, yeah, I guess I'll give that a pass. And just like settle for watching people do it instead. No, yeah, no. Having the thing would be nice. Like the inner hoarder in me is like, yes, get the thing, yes. But like with how bad the queues were, it's like a bit impossible. No, okay, I feel like I've been rambling on for a bit too long. So to summarize it very simply for those who are interested, I found the event to be very simple but effective in its design. Like as a marketing tool, I feel like it was extremely well done. Like in spite of how the event was simply done, the fact that by virtue of the fact that the location was good, the timing was good, and the fact that by making it free, they managed to get such a huge crowd gathering for the event that it would have just drawn eyes to the event location just by virtue of the fact that it's so centrally and obviously located, and you see a huge crowd outside there. Like it helps to generate a lot of hype for the, or like, maybe a lot of attention for the game, I guess, which was interesting to see. As for the event itself, personally, I found it interesting. Like this might just be my 5-year-old boomer brain talking, since I'm apparently the kind of person who likes like kids are like scavenger huntings and all that. But I found it fun. Like personally, as someone who likes more grassroots events in general, like pony cats and all that, like I found this to be interesting. Like, it reminded me more of those where you could just like go hang out for a short period of time, enjoy like being around the stuff you like. Maybe overall pretty fun. I found it to be, especially considering the fact that it's free, I found it to be a very fun experience. Like you could do enough to feel like you're involved in the event. Like although the fact that the stage was you had to pay for it is a bit of a bummer, but excluding that, for those who are entering for free, I feel like you would get enough enjoyment out of this for such a short event as it is, in like a compacted, like short, time effective event. Like you wouldn't be staying there for like 6 to 7 hours like Comic Cat or something. You'll just be there for a short period of time and you're done. So overall, very simply done. The exhibits there were mostly standees and props that were rather on the simple side to make, I suppose, but that will be very effective in like getting across to the people who know the game what you want them to in terms of like the references that you're trying to get across in them. So overall, pretty good. As for the event itself, I would say if you enjoyed the game, you would definitely enjoy this quite a bit. If assuming you're going there free, if you're going there paid, you probably enjoy it by virtue of the fact that you can be at the live area for a long period of time. But overall, pretty fun of an event. I enjoyed it. I feel like people who don't enjoy the stuff would enjoy it. Oof. Okay, yeah, I feel like I'm looking at the timer here now, and I feel like I took way too long of this like summary of it as well. But yeah, okay. For me, I did enjoy the event quite a lot. I look forward to seeing what they would do in the future for events, because this was a very unique event in terms of like big, or rather relatively big game company with big game IPs doing an event. Like, no, I guess some people might say that like this means that the game isn't earning too much, but I could be wrong, because like the full like sales figures, you gotta take them with a pinch of salt, since most of them are not very variably like, well, confirmable, you know. Like if I wanted to like confirm like the actual sales of the game, it would be pretty hard to do that. But for the most part, if I'm not mistaken, this game is within like the top 20 most like highest grossing like mobile games out there in Japan at least. So it should be doing decently well. I don't think it's like cost that caused this to happen, but more of them being like intentionally doing this with a planned design in mind. If my assumptions on what the design is are correct, they did it. They succeeded in what they wanted to do, but then again, I could be wrong as well. I don't know. Well, yeah, even if it's not for this game, if it's for other games as well, I might like take note and go by and just like drop down just to see how it's going. Cause like even though I don't play like Arknights or Azure Lane anymore, I feel like there might be something interesting just to see at the event by virtue of how they might hold it. Maybe. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. So that'll be something I'll be looking out for in the future as well. But yeah, thank you all for watching this video. The next video I do will probably be either on Anime Japan or EVO, since those are in March. I don't know if there's any events in February. I might need to check on that. But if you know of any, do let me know in the comments down below. Or if you have any comments on how I could improve this videos, just do let me know down in the comments as well. Subscribe if you want to see more of this, or just like Japan related stuff in general, or game stuff in general. Like I'm planning to do more like the bad games videos that I'm planning for a while now, like the second and the third one as well as more just gaming in general, since I do stream on Twitch, which you can like, the link is in the description. If you want to like say hi or like tell me that I suck in person, you can go down there. I usually stream on the weekends Japan time, so in the afternoon, so you might be able to find me. The schedule is also on Twitch, so you can check it out there. So, but yeah, so like more game compilation stuff of those, as well as like reviews of some of the very bad or like unknown games in Japan, as well as event reviews and like more just like Japan in general stuff as well. Maybe talking about the industry as well, since there's some interesting stuff that I do want to talk about, but that might be in the future if I manage to like not die while working and uploading videos at the same time. Well, that's it. That's all from me for today. I'll see you all in the next video, which should be pretty soon, for looking at the planned schedule of videos I want to make. So I'll see you all soon again, hopefully, if you enjoyed this video. Take care. I'll be seeing you all next time, and bye-bye.